Well, good morning. At least it's good morning where I'm at. Uh, Welcome to week one. By now you've looked at the video that I posted for the syllabus, and you've taken the syllabus quiz. Otherwise, you wouldn't got to this information. So welcome to the class. Uh, as I said in the syllabus, looks like what we'll try to do this week is let's go through chapter one. Chapter one is tons and tons of just terminology, but I'll try to pinpoint just a few things that you need to concern yourself with. So what I usually do in my classes is I give you a list of information that you need to do. So I'll list the assignments that we're doing. I'll give you a section of resources that you can use, and then a list of the assignments. This week, there's an introduction infographic that I want you to create. I've posted in the assignment mine, and there's a link, this Kavana link here, info link. It gives you a link to a site that allows you to do free creating infographics if you so want to choose it. The PowerPoint that is available with this class that covers all the material. I'm going to go through a subset of those today. And then I also put a link to Quizlet. Since this class, there's a lot of terminology, I've put in this link to Quizlet, which allows you to go through all the terms in the class. So it gives you can do different ways. You can either play a game with it. You can customize how you want to do this. I want to answer the term, the definition. I want them both. I can turn audio on or off. There are different ways of playing the game. I can change the study mode. Do I want it to be matching, learn, test, flashcards? So play a game, play around with these, whatever's best to help you learn these terms. So just an option for you to test. Not test it, it's just a resource that I'm making available to you. Hopefully you'll find it beneficial. Now, as far as the assignments this week, I've got the infographic. Introduce yourself. I've got a exercise, chapter 1 on page 38. There's a career exercise, number 3 on page 38, that I want you to create a presentation for. The review quiz. This review quiz, remember in my write-up that the review quizzes you can take as many times as you want. I've put a pool of questions together, true, false, multiple choice, but just keep in mind that the midterms and finals are taken from these review quizzes. So the more you go through it, the better you're going to see those questions at the time of the midterm and the final. And then, of course, the reflection journal, which I'm using for your attendance, and 250 words. And being a new class or new format for me, give me feedback, good, bad, and different. So just feel free to help me. Help me help you to learn the material. With all that administrative stuff done, then let's get on to the material at hand here. So basically this one is definitely an introduction. And like I said, it's an introduction to information systems, and it is a lot of terms and stuff, but let's cover some of the major ones. I'm not going to go through objectives, but basically a lot of these are understanding terms. What's the difference between information, knowledge, data? What's the quality of data? What types of information system types are there? How are they used? How does change in an organization get implemented? What could be ways of helping change or making a decision as to whether I'm going to change or implement a change in the IT environment? And then what kind of careers, roles, certifications that may be beneficial? I'm not going to go through all of these, but this is what this chapter is going to try to do. It gives you a high-level view of everything that's going on. So now one of the key areas is difference between data, information, and knowledge. Data is just raw facts, batting averages for a baseball player, win-loss column, how many wins, how many losses, just the raw facts. Great trivia questions, but you can be a trivia, well, unless you go on a game show and can win a lot of money, facts itself probably ain't going to put food on the table. Information is a way to gather that data that actually gives you some value. Now, the process is basically just a set of tasks of how do I turn that data into information. So I've got a bunch of facts, building blocks. I go through a process to create information. And then knowledge is, now that I've got information, now how can I make it, how can I do something with it? How can I define a relationship between the data and information to kind of help me do something of importance? Now, characteristics of quality information. Not everything you read on a report is accurate. We make decisions all the time as far as the question is, what data do I use? What information do I use to make those decisions? So you need to make sure your data is accurate. The chapter goes through some very important characteristics of the type of data, and making sure that that data is accurate is crucial. Basically, now, what is an information system? Since we're taking a class on fundamentals of information system, what is it? Basically, an information system is a set of interrelated elements that collect data, input data, process it, store it, manipulate it, disseminate it, change it, provide feedback back to the creator. Say, hey, did I create good information? Is it being used correctly? Most of your business today are using a computer-based information system. And basically what that is a single set of hardware, software, databases, networks, people, procedures, all to do an information system. So it's a lot of things involved in this computer-based. And could you do it all by paper and pencil? The answer is yes. It's been done for years. But probably since the 80s, people have been putting together computer-based information because paper processes have a tendency not to be followed. Not saying computer-based will guarantee they'll be followed, but it's something to keep in mind. Types of components that are in a computer-based information. So you got software, you got networks, the people that use the systems, the hardware, what are the process and procedures? Now, you definitely got information systems based on basically the size of there. You can have a personal information system. What makes things productive for you? As a group, maybe it'd be a team, maybe it'd be a small work group, it could be a class, or it could be an enterprise, could be AT&T, could be the school. Can be considered an enterprise because it has information systems that help define interfaces between both our employees, the students, suppliers, the state government. So they're kind of grouped based on size of what they do. What are some key characteristics of organizational components? I got to make sure the workers are trained. I got to make the system support, that people work together as a team. We find ways of fixing problems, redesigning processes, because having a static system never writes. And then what do I do with new decisions, new processes? Now, part of this process is something called a value chain. Value chain is just a series of activities that kind of changes the information, the data into information. Now, supply chain, you see it at Walmart all the time, from the supplier to a truck to the store to you. How is it made before the manufacture? So there's an information, how do I get from raw materials to on the shelf, that whole set, what is that manufacturing process? And then, of course, if I have that long chain, how do I manage it? The supply chain management system tries to incorporate all the information that comes into play. Supply chains are linked together. Information systems can play an important role there. Now, how do I get change into an organization? Well, that's people written tons of books on how to get change in, but I can think of all the improvements and modifications I want to make. But if the people won't make the changes and make them either sustaining, so something that somebody sees the benefit and will continue to grow the system and make the change and want to implement it and see the benefits, more likely the change won't take place. A disruptive innovation is one that, when it first comes into the market, your cell phone, for example, when it first came in, they were huge and costly. But over time, the changes and modifications to them made them a product that we all accept and probably can't do without. Keep in mind, there's different ways of making changes. I can either revamp, re-engineer the entire process, or I can do continuous improvement. I can make changes, not throw everything out with the bathwater, the baby with the bathwater, but I can go ahead and make small changes and stuff. Now, of course, on this other soft side, there's different ways of managing, different models of how do I get changes made. You've got one that's the Lewin's change model. It pretty much says I've got a force, I got forces pro and con against making things happen. What is the normal process of making change? Do I freeze changes, move the change, rephrase them? Force field analysis, what's the driving force for the change? What could be restricting? Why would I not want to make the change? And if I can't get more driving, if the driving force is not greater than the restraining forces, changes will never take place. Leavitt's diamond model says I've got 4 different parts to a system, and changing any one of those affects the other 3. You've got user satisfaction models, for accepting of technology. You've got diffusion of innovation. This one in new businesses or startup universities, you'll see, okay, who are my innovators? Who are the people that get on the new technology? Who's the first one who bought an iPhone? Who's the first one who bought a PC? What type of people get those, devices? And then who holds off to the longest? So you have to, as you're thinking about your implementing change, where do you want to play along this change of innovation? A few definitions of the terms. And then it goes into a section on careers and information systems. It goes through how to, what kind of skills you must have, what kind of technical skills you must have. Where do I find a job? On the internet, company websites, informal networks. And then it goes into what kind of certifications would be beneficial for you to have, that you want to have in place to make sure that your resume or your application online is seen above others. So those are just a few of the changes and stuff that we've talked about in this chapter. Go through, create the infographic, do your homework, make sure you fill out a reflection journal. Remember, the reflection journal is what I'm taking attendance on. So hopefully that helps. Let me know in the reflection journal. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.